Endings. What makes endings great? What makes endings fail? There's a book called Beginnings, Middles, and Endings where they say an ending is the answer to the question asked by the beginning. And that's a perfect way to think about it. There's a question in the beginning, there's a promise made, there's some sense of what kind of mystery we're looking at, what kind of world we're building. And the ending is a culmination of all the powers involved. So whatever conflict is at hand, be it emotional, internal, external, like we were talking about last week, all of those things come to some kind of culminating moment in the ending. Even if it is just internal, there are still so many things going on. So Penny Dreadful, the finale happens. All of the different internal and external conflicts are coming together at the same time. Miss Ives and Timothy Dalton's character have tension together. They hate each other, but they kind of love each other, but they're fighting. Timothy Dalton's character has to, what the fuck is his name? Timothy Dalton's character has to figure out, he's basically made his decision that he will destroy his daughter if she's a vampire and he can't save her. All these things are going on. So they go to the theater, which is a great moment because the final conflict, the final physical conflict happens in a place where we're familiar with it. Frankenstein's monster has been working there. We've seen lots of things happen there. So they're kind of coming back to this place that we know. All these things are happening. Once again, all the evil ladies with the white hair come out and they start fighting. Timothy Dalton's taking on the vampire. Now, really, the big vampire character conflict, it's exciting, but it's not any greater than anything that's happened earlier in the show necessarily. But because all these emotional, internal things are happening, we're wondering what's going to go down. And indeed, the white-haired ladies start killing all the other characters or attacking all the other characters, and they have to fight them off. Boom, 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 boom. All these things happen. It's exciting. And then, of course, there's this moment of decision, like we were talking about last week. It was perfect, where Timothy Dalton is faced with whether or not he needs to kill his own daughter or save Miss Ives. So the external conflict puts him perfectly in a position where his internal conflict is physicalized, and then he has to make a move. Then we keep going, and then we close on this moment where Miss Ives is having a very quiet conversation with a priest. Now, what that does even more is fulfill that promise that the whole show has been doing the whole time, which is saying that this is horror, but it's not your traditional just about the creepiness horror. There's a psychological, spiritual aspect to what's going on, in line with old horror, which wasn't just about Oogie Boogie. There were all these things. Frankenstein is such a philosophical book. Dracula, too, in its own right. So we close with this very mellow but very weird and creepy and beautiful conversation that Miss Ives is having. So they bring in this new priest character out of nowhere in this last scene, and it's very quiet. Boom. And it ends literally once again on a decision point. He asks her a question, and we're not really sure what the answer is. It's an ambiguity. It's a moment of ambiguity that's beautiful, because it's not the kind of ambiguity where we're like, we don't know what happens. What the fuck happens? We can go with it. It's interesting. It makes us think. But it doesn't leave us hanging to the point where we're really annoyed, like certain other cliffhangers. Okay. Point number 2. They bring in this whole subplot in the last episode, and it works, where they're trying to get Ethan's father sends 2 of the guys from the Pinkerton agency to take him back to the U.S. Fine. So it adds another level of conflict that's happening and excitement. But they decided to make one of them Apache. Now, that could have worked if they had gone ahead and made these characters interesting characters who were alive and were more than just menacing bad guys. That would have done 2 things. It would have taken away the boring old trope of the evil Apache, which we have seen 1,000 billion times since the beginning of motherfucking time. And 2, it would have made the story more interesting because, if anything, Pinkerton guys could be seen as their own protagonists, and they could have seemed likable in some way. They're just doing their job. They're just trying to collect the dude. So when they have conflict, the conflict becomes more interesting if they're just sort of like likable, normal human beings instead of these seething evil villain types where it's like, well, I know you're bad guys. And then when whatever happens, you probably had it coming because you're a bad guy. So here's another moment where it's a craft failure and a race fail. And you could have just done it so much better. All in all, the Penny Dreadful finale was excellent. I really enjoyed the shit out of it. It was fucked up. It was creative. it brought together all of the different things that have been going on, and it also opened a door to what's next, and with a good air of mystery. So we don't really know what's going to happen, but we certainly hope that there's more, because it is wild and fantastic. But what the fuck with the Apache?